Hi and welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. We're going to continue building the XB8e 22. What I'm hoping to get done on this one is the front suspension arms and hubs on and get everything mounted down to the chassis. So let's see how far we get with it, but let's crack on. Moving along with the XB8e, moving on to the front now. So front suspension wise, first thing we're going to want to do is get the tiny little grub screws. These are going to be a 2mm ball head, hex head, sorry. And you're going to want to screw these in, and look at the instructions. I'm not really sure what it's telling us to do with these, because it just says gap 0mm. So whether it's telling us to just put it level with bottom, I suppose. But we can adjust that when we get it all put together. Right, let's have a look what we got here. So we got a front and a front rear. So if we look at the stock configuration, it's a number 1, not a 0.5. And stock configuration tells us to put these into the center mid position on them both, and then it's going to go on to back here, and then we're going to need 2 of the really long screws, and then we've got to get these screwed in, and then the back one. This one we are looking for ones again, but the ones that are offset into corner, and then looks like with the dip on the top we're going for the bottom innermost lower corner. So once we've got that in, we're then going to need an arm, and you want one of the thicker 2mm spacers on the rear. Then it looks like we're going to position those in. So again, thicker spacer. It looks like that's the way it's wanting us to fit the arms, so let's see if these line up. Yep. And there's no restriction in movement on them. So, and we fit the 2 screws, and these are the shorter ones with the countersunk heads. So now we're going to need to build up the 2 little links that go to the sway bar. This time it'll be the front one, and the measurement for these is leave them stuck out about 6mm. And I must admit, of all the little tie links, these are the ones that bother me least building these. They're not bad at all. So that's one. And I believe because of the angle that these arms are designed at, you should be able to just tighten these up and leave them level like that. They should fit together quite nicely. So once we've got them, and then on the opposite end, I'm gonna need one of the ends, the ball joint ends that go onto the sway bar. So that's both of those built up. And then we're going to mount the sway bar. So you're going to want one of the dome-headed screws. These are 3x18mm. you don't need to screw these crazy tight, they're not going to back out under normal use, but you certainly don't want to strip the threads out. And one thing I've noticed building Xray, although it tells you you can use a reamer to ream out the arms and everything, they never really feel like they're anything other than really smooth. They never feel like they're binding up too much. And as soon as you start running it, they will free off anyway. Right, so next we're going to flip it around to this side. We've got the, I believe this one's 2.2 is the numbering on this. So if we back the little grub screws out on them, should then be able to slide them into position. And you're then going to want to fit your little retainers. I'm not sure if these are 1.5s. Nope, still 2. So there's one fitted. Get the second one in. Right, once we've got that into position, you've then got your tiny little grub screws, and these we're just going to screw in. And this is why I don't tighten the ends down just yet on the sway bar, because I like to make sure it's not binding on these and all they're doing is holding it in position. Always surprises me how quickly when you're doing kits it starts looking like an actual RC. Right, that's all the movement out of it. So then you can line your little grub screws up. It does say you want 1.5 to 2 mil sticking out the ends. And that is our front suspension setup. So let's see what we need next. So first thing we're going to need to do on this one, we're going to need a little bit of thread lock and some grease. So first thing I'm going to do is assemble the drive shaft. So let's get this put together. So again, we're going to be getting covered in the graphite grease. Of course it does get everywhere. So we're going to want as drive shaft and as pin, and you've got to make sure it goes straight through the centre. And it's now slipping off my fingers when I want to pick it up. So that's got its drive shaft assembled. Then you're going to want to sit the bearing on it, and that'll keep it in one piece. Then we're going to sit the bearing into the back of the hub. You're going to want a bearing in the front of the hub. You're going to get your hex drive on. Then we're going to want 2.5mm driver. And you're going to want to thread lock this because you don't want your wheels falling off. Definitely don't want escaping wheels mid-race. Right, so once we've got it built to that point, you're then going to want to attach the little steering arm. And I believe these are 2.5mm hex heads on these. I'm not sure on this one if they do the optional carbon ones, but they are really nice black anodized aluminium ones that come with kit. So that's got most of the hub assembled. They do the ends of the drive shafts, you can get them with multiple position ones, so you can lengthen and shorten your drive shaft. I know that's an optional extra for it. So next we're going to be fitting the pill balls. Black aluminium one in the top, steel one in the bottom. Although the black aluminium one, it does show that one looking more silver in the instructions. Then you want your two little inserts in, and then we're going to be dropping these in, and you're going to need a fair sized Allen key for these. So let's see what we've got. So you're going to want a 5mm driver for these. So with these, what I tend to do is just slowly tighten them up, and you're looking to just snug these up, but you don't want any resistance. So you don't want any play, but you don't want any resistance in them. It's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, tightening these right down, because then your servo's just constantly straining against them. And that feels about right. So once we've got all that assembled, we then need the top arm. So we're going to fasten this on. Inside the pillow ball, and you can tighten up your suspension or your top arm. So once we've got all this together, now I'm going to put a tiny little bit of this graphite grease. It just prolongs life a little. Then you're going to want to line that up, get it in place, and it's not telling us to fit any spacers on the bottom. So once you've got that screwed into place, it gives you some idea of where the suspension's going to sit. Right, so that is one made up, so we just need to repeat the process and get the other side built. Right, so that's both sides of the front suspension built. Next we're going to be mounting it to the chassis, so we want that to sit that way around. Then we've got the little insert that sits underneath. I believe that sits that way, and these should locate into the chassis itself. We're going to use 4 screws. So I'm going to get them started by hand. I think, looking at that, I think these are going to be 2.5mm. Yep. Right, so onto the front. So we're going to want to flip that. And then again we've got two little locating clips and the front bumper. So we get all them into position. Get a couple of these started first. So we've got some chassis braces left, so let's see where these go. Now we're not fitting any extra weights. I'm just going to run it stock to start with. So as rear chassis brace, looks like that comes through to the rear tower. And then into one side. And then, so that comes through the back, so through that back part, and then to one side on the actual tower. And then this one is going to sit down with the nut inside it. And these can be an absolute pain to get in sometimes. No, that's not going to be bad. So that one's going to sit in the opposite side. So you want the longer of the two screws to go through the bottom. So we've got one tightened, and then you can tighten the bottom one down. And then finally, should be able to get the one in from the bottom. So that's one nut and bolt through here, all the way through, one nut and bolt through there, one nut and bolt in the bottom one, and that should be our front and rear suspension all fastened up to the chassis. So I think we'll leave it there for this one. Looks like quite a nice place to finish off. I have to work out which way around these suspension arms go. So they're either going to go that way or that way. I think it's facing backwards, but we'll see when we get to that point. Right, let's wrap this one up. Right, thanks for tuning in and sticking with us on this build. So we've now got a chassis, front and rear hubs, front and rear suspension, front and rear diffs, and the chassis brace fitted. So it's kind of starting to look like an RC. But thanks again for watching WTF Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can watch us carrying on building this, and share to friends and family or anybody else you think might enjoy it. I'll catch you guys again in the next one.